Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our final thesis presentation. My name is Taymour Abdelal, and I'm joined with my team, Hania Wael, Menna Dessokey, and Aliaa Khalifa, here to present our thesis to idea, augmented reality historic tours, or also called history. Well, before we start, I'd like to thank all our friends, family, colleagues, and faculty for being here, and also special thanks to our advisor, Dr. Hossam Sharara, and Dr. Salama for the program supervisor for the tremendous work over the past year. And with that said, let's get into history. Sorry. Okay, so basically this is what we're going to go through today, our overview, objectives, the system design, the different systems, the outcomes, and the future plans. And with that said, here's history.
There's no voice. There's no music, and I can't hear anything.
There's no voice?
Yeah, it was not connected to the audio.
Okay.
You have to share your computer audio.
دلوقتي كده
بس الصوت بس.
Okay, so I'm going to take you through a quick overview of our project. Our idea is simply a historic tour guide mobile application which utilizes augmented reality to provide the user with an interactive, immersive experience. The user simply signs in and is able to discover the different historic sites around them by providing the app with their current location. With this location, the application is able to use the user's camera to guide them as they embark on their augmented reality tour. Okay, so some of the problems that our app aims to solve is that even though it's estimated that there were around 1.4 billion tourists worldwide in 2018, the actual historic site visitations are on the decline. So research proposes that this is because historic sites lack the compelling experience that meet the new generational trends, as well as many historic tours being hidden and not well known to tourists if they're not mainstream landmarks.
Please allow Zoom access.
So as for the competitors who already exist in the market, we have the Egyptian application called VizGo that provides guided tours. Not all sites are currently supported. That's the main problem. They lack a lot of features. Actually, they do not have any features except the tours, and all their tours are audio-based only. Moving to the next application, it's called TourBuddy. This application presents very limited information regarding specific destination and attraction in the USA. Upon choosing an attraction or a destination, the user is automatically given access to a guide, and a static map is downloaded on the user's phone in the form of a picture. And one of the main drawbacks of this application is that its UI is very, very outdated, and it lacks a lot of interactivity. As for our app, it's filling the gap in the market. As it finds sites around the user and gets info dynamically, it augments graphics and paints interactive visuals with voiceover. It has many dynamic features that allow the interaction between the users and
Okay.
Yeah, I think you've been cut off.
Yeah, okay. Let's move on.
All right, so now let's move on to the project outcomes. Our team aims to teach and entertain the user by enabling them to have access to history. We really do believe that more people will be driven towards historic sites when the historic process is much easier. The application simply cancels the old-fashioned tour experience, as now users can have the duality of seeing the artifact real-time alongside the augmentation and receiving the information on demand. Currently, we're focusing on Egypt. Egypt currently has 2/3 of the world's touristic locations and artifacts. And with the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum, we expect an influx of tourist arrivals, and we want to make sure that they have an easy access to a great experience in Egypt. All right, so now we're going to discuss the system design and architecture. We have two main components, the client and the server. The client is basically controls the view flow, and it handles the needed, including showing, hiding, activating, and deactivating the views according to the state, of course. And then it connects to the local database. It also communicates with the server, the back end, and the additional APIs to connect the online database with the local database. These are the main system that we have, where there are basically 5 systems. There are the tours, data, account, explore, and backend, and we're going to talk more about them later on.
Okay, so I'm going to take you guys through the our account and the back end. So our focus in the beginning was simply authenticating the user, but now we have developed it into a fully functioning account system with a well-rounded user object in our back end. So Firebase is used to authenticate the user where they're assigned a unique ID, and this ID we use it to index our back end. This user can upload an image while setting up their profile using Cloud Fire Storage, which is also by Firebase. This returns a URL to be stored with the user's information in the backend. And this user object is then pushed into the user collection, where we can easily fetch this information at any time. We also use this same technique for our POI systems. Some of the new features we've added since last time is that we included the storing as well as dynamic image fetching technique using Cloud Fire Storage, as I just previously mentioned. This technique is also used when placing the images associated with the points of interest. Making all our image and data fetching very flexible and dynamic and reflective of any real-time changes. We also created a whole new tour feature where we created a tour. So each tour has a unique tour ID and we place it in the point of interest objects. So if this value is not null, there's a start tour button that's automatically placed and the scene with the tour components is loaded. Our user profile also accesses the currently signed in user and uses this ID to fetch user data from the back end, so that the user profile is automatically updated whenever a change in the user information occurs and reflects this in the profile, so that the user can see the tours that they've previously completed, as well as in the future different activities such as purchases or something. We also implemented the search functionality where users can search for different sites, but it still doesn't support adaptive searching yet, and we'll mention that in our future plans. This is a quick video taking you through our UI. So this is the user signing in with their email and password. Our loading page. This is the user profile, the visited tours. This is our main menu with all the sites. So here we see that there is no tour button, but when we, Cairo Tower has a tour. So when we click on start tour, it automatically takes you, and Taymour will give you more details on that.
All right, so let's move on to the data. We have two main ways to fetch the data. The first is the Wikipedia dump. The dump, basically, we use the dump to initialize our online database. And basically what we do is we filter the database and then we download it and then we convert it into JSON format. And then upon converting it, we use Unity and Firebase to connect it to the online database. And now we're going to talk about the web scraping. Web scraping is employed on a very small scale to extract the data that we need from the internet. And we use an API called SearchStack, and it's free. It has 100+ searches a month. It's flexible and has excellent documentation. And if someone might be confused about why we use two methods instead of one, we use two methods because we're trying to be efficient and less costly. The web scraping is only used when there is a site that cannot be found on the initialized database. So it allows us to search less, and it also allows us to save a lot of time instead of searching every time we need to fetch an API, a POI information.
Okay, the Explore view. So building on what Menna said, the Explore view takes the user's current location, it activates the augmented reality, and allows the user to see the different historic sites that are currently around them. To do that, we access the Google Places API by using the user's location. And we get the results or the return from Google Places API. We filter the different sites that are currently around them. And then we start looking to get more information about these sites, as Google Places does not have any more information other than the name of the site and the Latin long. So we check our database. If the site is there, we fetch the information, and then a new object is created for this POI. However, if the user is in a new location and we don't have any information about the sites that's currently around them, we then use the web scraping, which Menna was talking about, to get information about the sites to create a more dynamic experience for the users. So what are the new features that we developed in the Explore view since the last time? Well, first thing, AR directions. We started using the Google Directions API to be able to augment directions from the user's location to the different historic sites that are currently around them when the user interacts with the historic sites. We do that by sending the two Latin longs of the user and the site. Then we receive a response. We parse the response and the different flags, which are the steps in the directions, and we place the augmented arrows along the different legs. Second feature is the text-to-speech. To do that, we use the Google Translate API. And we are able to, with that feature, we are able to basically get a media response, which is an API, which is someone reading out the description, which we'll see in a bit. And finally, an updated UI. After the implementation of the image storing, site images are now visible in the AR and are dynamically fetched in the UI. At the same time, we started using a new system for the UI to make it a lot more pleasing for the eye, and the words are now limited to a certain dimension, which was not previously done. And now we'll go over a small demo for the Explore view. In this demo, we're taking a deep dive in the Explore view. In the Explore view, you are shown the different historic sites that are currently around you at the given location. Air objects are placed at the different historic sites, and they are interactive. Clicking on air objects will allow you to read more information about the site, give you directions to the historic site, and at the same time read out loud the different descriptions.
This park is listed as one of the world's 60 great public spaces by public spaces.
The voiceover is not clear. However, you can hear a very small voiceover in the background. This is the text speed that we were talking about.
I think ممكن كان في مشكلة في الصوت. Wait.
In this demo, we're
Okay. المفروض it should be يعني it should be. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Our final main feature are the tours. The tours are a completely new feature that we developed since the last presentation. So the idea behind the tours is basically the idea behind the app, which is we want to take the user on a historic tour or a guided tour of the site. And we're able to do that through accessing the user's location, placing different hotspots around the site, which are activated when the user reaches that location. This creates an engaging storytelling experience and makes the site a lot more engaging and interactive. Also, of course, the basis of everything is the augmented reality. So now we're able to place the different 3D assets to bring the different sites to life. So what are the main features of these tours feature? Well, the hotspots. The hotspots are basically target locations that are activated when the user reaches a certain range from that location. Of course, to do that, we continuously poll for the current user location, and when needed a certain range, a certain function is triggered. And this creates the stops feature of a tour. And we also have the tour manager, which is basically a media manager. It controls all the tour audio, the subtitles, the different Easter eggs, which are a new layer of interactivity that we're placing in the tours, and controls what activates when. And of course, it controls the different 3D assets and the animations of these 3D assets. And finally, the directions manager, which controls the AR and the placement of the arrows between the different spots. Of course, initially we wanted the tool to amplify the user experience in the historic sites. However, due to the quarantine, we were not able to do that. But what we thought is, why not bring the different historic sites to the users? And that's what we did. We created a small, simple tour of the Giza pyramids right outside the street, outside my house. And now we'll take a look at the demo. Welcome to the tour feature of our app. As you can see, the user is now walking. Wait, I'll just make sure that the sound is
walking on to the first stop of the app. And as stated before, all these stops are location-based and location-activated. So the minute the user is in range, the tour then starts. And automatically, we start giving him the informative and different content about the site, which aims to bring the site to life.
The Giza Pyramid Complex is the site on the Giza Plateau in Greater Cairo, Egypt.
As you can see, using our augmented reality location-based objects, you can place different 3D assets all around the site, making it a lot more interactive and a lot more fun, while reading out information to the user, ensuring that it is actually informative.
The site is at the edge of the Western Desert, approximately 9 kilometers west of the Nile River in the city of Giza, and about 13 kilometers southwest of the city center of Cairo.
After the first stop is finished, we then guide the user to the second stop. However, it's not just informative, it's actually fun. All around the tour, there are secret hidden Easter eggs, like the book you just saw. Activating it will lead to something at the end. Now, using arrows, we direct the user to the second stop, which will talk about the Giza pyramids. And as you can see, the tour guide is waiting for us there. Everything is augmented reality generated. And automatically, when the user reaches the second stop according to his location, the second stop is activated. And then we start talking about the different things that are around him.
It is the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the only one to remain largely intact. Egyptologists believe that the pyramid was built as a tomb over a 10 to 20 year period concluding around 2560 BC. Originally, the Great Pyramid was covered by limestone, which were covered in
just like before, when the stop finishes, the user is then guided to the third and final stop, and automatically keep detecting the user's location, and the minute he actually reaches the stop is activated.
Welcome to stop 3. Cut from the bedrock,
as you can
the
see in
original shape of the Sphinx
we are
has
talking
been
about
restored with
the
layers
Sphinx,
of blocks.
and the user can actually see the Sphinx right in front of
The
him.
Sphinx measures 240 feet long from paw to tail, 66 feet high from the base to the top of the head.
Wait, what's there? This book is the second of our hidden Easter eggs in this tour, and the minute the user interacts with it, he is guided to a hidden location that will not be shown unless the user interacts with these preset objects. And when the user reaches the hidden location, it is then met with these secret messages. And starts this boss fight. And of course, we plan on expanding this even further, so when the user defeats this boss or the different in-game activities throughout the tours, he will then earn in-game rewards, adding a new layer of interactivity to this experience.
No. Okay.
So as for the outcomes, concerning our business plan, let's start by the value proposition. As for the value proposition, the product is providing engaging tours and offering an interactive and informative experience. This is what differentiates ourselves from the competitors by providing personalized, interactive, and real-time experience that the user will receive. Moving on to the customer segment, we are basically targeting foreign tourists in the age from 16 to 30 and local tourists in the age also from 16 to 30. Moving to the main key partners who are essential in running this product, the sponsors, the governments who are responsible for the touristic sites, service providers, the touristic sites itself, and the content providers. As for the main activities, which are adding new users, adding new sites and tours, augmenting 3D assets, maintaining and developing partnerships, maintaining and developing the app itself. As for the resources, our product depends on, first of all, the capital and developers who work on building and maintaining the application, and of course, data about the sites. Lastly, the application itself.
All right, so now let's talk about the customer relationships and channels. First, the customer relationships is divided into main four categories: the user rating, the email, social media, the online support, the on-ground activities. And then we can move on to the channels. The channels can be divided into three main sectors: the social media page, the Play Store, and the App Store. All right, and now we can move on to the cost structure and the revenue streams. The cost structure is depending upon the marketing, the APIs, Unity teams, and Firebase. And then on the other hand, we have the revenue streams, which we depend upon tour purchases and in-game purchases, advertisements and sponsorship, and premium membership, which will be released later on in the future. All right, to more details, we can now divide the cost structure into the Google Places API and the Google Directions API is going to be $5 per 1,000 requests. A Firebase is going to be free up to 1K, 10K authentication, and we don't think we're going to need more than that. The web scraping is free up to 150 searches per month. The Unity team is $15 per month. And then the marketing is around $150 per month. And as for the revenue structure, we expect to have the tour deals for $5 per tour, sponsorships and ads for 1,000 to 2,000 LE per month, in-game items for $2 per item, and the membership will be determined later on.
Okay, so as for our future plans, we have both near future plans and future plans. What are near future plans are these are basically features which we have almost entirely completed with most of their functionalities in place, but since we lack the sufficient time to actually implement them and integrate them within our apps, so we hope to finish them all within the near future. Some of these include the adaptive search we had mentioned earlier, as well as recommendation systems for the menus, our tour albums for the user, where the user can upload their pictures and have them saved privately as tour albums, as well as payment functionalities and creating more of the tours, more instances just like the ones you saw.
And just like Hania said, unlike the near future features, which are almost 80 to 90% done, the future features are things that we hope to achieve soon while developing the app. These are things that include cloud notifications to be able to notify the user. And then other multiplayer features like user chatting, multiplayer tours, and tours in other countries, which we believe are core features that will create communities around the app and actually find people with similar interests building the app even further in the future. And with that said, this concludes our final thesis presentation. Thank you everyone for being here. This has been a one-year journey. And yeah, thank you to the amazing team that I had it with. Any questions?